What's new in the forest? The new forest that is 900 years old, our unique heritage from long ago. There have been many periods in the past when few alterations have occurred, but in this century many changes have taken place, some good, some bad. So, to discover what's new in the forest, it's just as well to look at that which is old, and to start with a little bit of history might be helpful. Way back in the past, whole tracts of country were forest. Forest in the sense that inhabitants were few, and the land was not farmed or cultivated, but was left to develop by a process of natural selection and regeneration that was taking place all the time, and, fortunately, was largely conserved for us, in 1079, by William the Conqueror. In that year, he decreed that a region in Hampshire, somewhat larger than the New Forest is today, be declared his New Forest, a game reserve for the royal hunt, where the deer would be protected and roam free. And the deer have been roaming free ever since, despite determined efforts at times to exterminate them. The species at present in the forest are roe, Japanese sika, fallow and red deer. These are fallow deer. The bucks, those with antlers, are in velvet. That is, the antlers are still growing and are protected by velvet during the midsummer months. New antlers are grown each year for 7 or 8 years, until the buck reaches maturity. After that they may improve a little, until the 12th or 13th year or so, when a gradual deterioration begins. The rutting season is later in the year, from the end of September and on into October. This is the time when mating occurs, and the remarking of old territory and the staking of new is a regular ritual. Some bucks will use the same location for several years, but others, usually the younger ones, must seek new rutting stands. The young bucks will often spar playfully in anticipation of the day when they have to fight for a favoured place. Although it may seem to be stating the obvious, the word forest conjures up a picture of a thickly wooded tract of country, but this has not always been so. For instance, large areas are gravel-based plateau interspersed with streams and ponds. Many years ago, an authority on forest law gave the following definition. A forest is a circuit of woods, grounds and pastures, known in its bounds, privileged for the abiding of wild beasts and fowls of the forest, chase and warren, to be under the king's protection for his princely delight. Well, now it's mainly for our delight, and there is no better way of enjoying the pleasures of the forest than by rambling on foot and discovering for yourself the great variety of soils, plants and animals. A beautiful stretch of water such as Eyeworth Pond is so fascinating that it is hard to resist taking a close look. Perhaps it's because it's so different from our usual surroundings and has plants and animals that we don't normally see. This is crowfoot. And this spearwort. A common frog which frequents the edges of ponds. And this is a baby, 1 inch long, which has just left the water to start living on land. Bogs, some deep and dangerous, surprisingly are found on plateau levels as well as in the valleys. Water draining through the gravel is held up by insoluble minerals that form a hard pan at varying depths. Nature, always adaptable, produces bog myrtle or sweet gale, a glorious reddy brown colour, and bog asphodel, a lovely creamy yellow flower, bright and pure. Then there is great sallow, pussy willow, silvery white in bud, and cotton grass, graceful, waving, nodding. Bog bean, dainty, intricate, pink and white with trefoil leaves. Orchid of several varieties and colours. And masses of sundew. Sundew is such an attractive looking plant, particularly when the sun is shining and the sticky fluid on the red hairs round their leaves is sparkling and bright. Such an innocent looking thing, which nature has evolved in a very distinctive way. Because it can't get enough nitrogen from the bog, it supplements its larder by eating, if that's the right word, consuming is probably better, many small and not so small insects. This unlucky damselfly, looking like a small dragonfly, has been trapped by two specimens, the hairs of which will close around and over it and inject a fluid that will kill it and make it easily digestible. Here it is the next day, dead. Of the animals that belong to the New Forest commoners, that is, those who own or lease land within the forest, the pony is predominant and catches the eye and imagination of visitors. Two other animals that are fairly numerous, however, are cattle and donkeys, and as a matter of interest, cattle account for roughly a third of the animal population. While commoners may graze cattle, goats, because of their voracious habits, are not permitted. The delightful grassy areas, shady glades and forest lawns as we know them, are kept open for us by the animals, who feed not only on grass, but on gorse, heather and bramble, and a careful balance of the number of animals to the total area of grazing available must be kept. Since the New Forest Act of 1877, commoners have the right to turn out their animals all the year round. Before then there were two periods, the winter haying from the end of November to early May, and the fence month, the 20th of June to 20th of July, when does were dropping their fawns, when their animals had to be tethered or kept in cowhouses or byres, about 6 months in every year. Nowadays, common rights extend to all land not temporarily enclosed for forestry or farm use, including the unfenced roads used by motorists. Animals have right of way, and until cattle grids were put at strategic positions, were free to roam the streets of villages and towns in the forest. The history of the New Forest pony is long and complicated, and it's doubtful whether the present-day breeds have much resemblance to the original wild pony that used to stray all over Britain. It is said that around the turn of the century, the quality of the mares was excellent, but that of the stallions was poor. A number of attempts have been made to improve the breeds. For example, the introduction of the thoroughbred mask line about the middle of the 18th century. And later, a variety of new blood was introduced. These were Highland, Fell and Exmoor stallions, together with some Welsh of distinctly Arab ancestry. Later still, a Dartmoor stallion was brought in, and a polo pony, sporting the impressive name Field Marshal, and he has progeny that are legion. It's the New Forest verderers who now control which stallions run, and outside blood is not allowed in registered ponies. Nevertheless, commoners can and do turn out any mare they want, but her colts are not permitted to breed. So there's nothing much that's new in New Forest ponies, except that by private selective breeding from registered mares and stallions, a versatile pony, good-tempered when broken and quite fast for its size, has resulted. In a negative sort of way, the loss of a species of bird, plant or mammal could be said to create a new condition in the forest. And as more and more people come to camp or ride, the danger to wildlife increases. Be careful in your searching, and you will find your patience rewarded with the thrill of discovery. There are some rare species of flora and fauna to be found, and danger lies in the thoughtless seeking of them by more and more enthusiasts, some of whom are not sufficiently knowledgeable to realize that to rob a nest or dig up a plant accelerates its final extinction. Two experienced botanists are seen here looking for a very great rarity. It'll be natural for you to want to tell others of your best finds, but please make sure they are people who can be trusted. The plant? In this case, Gladiolus illyricus to the botanist, or wild gladiolus. Listed as one of the 12 rarest plants in our country, this is the last remaining site in Great Britain. Its description in one well-known handbook is a medium tall, hairless perennial, leaves sword-shaped, flowers red-purple, 6-petaled, 3 to 8 to a spike on one leafless stem. But you can see it's much more than that. It's the forerunner of the gladiolus we grow in our garden. During your search or ramble, you may have an unexpected bonus, like spotting a fox. Or a snake in the dry bracken or grass. But be careful, an adder's bite can be dangerous. There are many ways of enjoying the forest, and recording what is seen on film is relatively new. Here, a skilled ornithologist, having sought permission, is seen setting up a hide to film a bird at the nest, after first finding his bird, and of course in a position where it can be filmed without disturbing it. The usual practice is to set up a canvas hide and gradually move it closer over a period of days, and then, when the parent birds are accustomed to it, filming can begin. Usually a helper is needed because birds, bless them, can't count very well, and the sight of a person going away leads them to believe that they're alone. Natural history filming is a matter of patience and observation, greatly helped by the use of long focus and telephoto lenses. Practice and knowledge are required to avoid wasting large amounts of film, and even then only the very best shots are retained after careful editing. These shots of bullfinches and their young tell a story which few people would have seen in such detail. The young are fed by both parents, largely on caterpillars, and there is said to be some evidence that they mate for life and do not split up for winter as most small birds do. These are commoners' ponies, some of the 4,000 or so that are free running in the forest, free running until the time comes for them to be sold by auction for their owners. So a pony drift is held, drift being the commoner's name for a roundup. Before each sale, an Agister, one of 3 that are appointed by the Court of Verderers, organises a band of commoners of his district to go out over a given area and to round up and drive in as many ponies as possible. All the riders taking part are expert horsemen, and the youngsters who join them do so in order to prove their ability before being allowed to take part in point-to-point events. So all are very much at home in the forest. You will need to move about from place to place to get good viewpoints, and if you do, you will be rewarded by some lovely sights. The beauty of colour and movement as the ponies gallop or trot past you, with all the grace of rhythmic action that combines so well with the rural background to make a picture that you will not soon forget. As they arrive at the pound, the scene that will meet your eyes is as English as an oak tree, for one can only surmise that drifts have been taking place for many, many years and are, by tradition, now part of the commoner's yearly cycle. Days when they and their friends meet, and when the work is done, the talk will be of ponies, ponies, and yet more ponies. At the pound, the Agister, his title comes from the Norman, to receive payment, sees to his job of having some of the ponies wormed to rid them of parasitic infestation. Then they are tail-marked in a particular way and branded to denote their area of grazing and to whom they belong. We hear a lot about grassroots these days. Scenes like this are the grassroots of the commoners. Theirs are the ponies, theirs are the families and friends, and this is one of their days. So, what's new in the forest? The answer is that in many ways nothing has changed, and we should be eternally grateful for that. Traffic has certainly increased tremendously, as it has everywhere, and on busy summer days it poses a great problem. The pressures on the environment and its management are now of great concern, and just one aspect is the increased risk of injury to animals. But it would be a pity if, in solving this problem, and others like it, the whole forest, in turn, became in danger of being stage managed, with samples of all the elements that go to make up the grand pattern put on show, each in its own allocated spot. Another worry is pollution. Although the refinery at Fawley is not a new threat, the consequences of pollution from all directions is cumulative, and a constant guard and watch has to be kept. The Forestry Commission has overall management responsibility, administered from the Deputy Surveyor's headquarters at Lyndhurst. Work has been done in recent years to regulate the pattern of camping and caravanning and their associated recreational pursuits, for it must be recognised that to many the forest is a playground and not an area for botanical, biological or ecological study. Camping sites have been developed to suit most needs, for those who like large open sites with shopping and other facilities, and those who prefer relative seclusion. The days when you could drive your car almost anywhere has gone. Dragon's teeth are very effective barriers, and of necessity, freedom to park at will has disappeared. Direction is the order of the day, and the vast majority of those with the welfare of the forest at heart will not question these restrictions. Those with the task of containing the damage that can be done by visitors will say, quite justifiably, that many such measures are necessary for conservation, while others, wary of change, are concerned that the ecology of the forest may suffer with resultant loss of flora and fauna. Not noticed perhaps, and difficult to show on film, other work proceeds. The drainage of some boggy areas, for example. An activity of this sort does not find favour with everyone. It is a vexed modern problem. It would be all too easy to do nothing. Only time will tell if the right things are being done. So, to finish, let's go back to the old-time things, to Beaulieu Road station, where the horse boxes regularly arrive for the auction sales that are held in April and from August to November each year. There are upwards of 400 ponies at most sales, and sometimes as many as 600, and buyers are among the earlier arrivals. The ponies are led out of their transporters, the crowd increases, and the scene has all the atmosphere of an old-time horse fair. Indeed, the original sales were held at Lyndhurst Fair. All the old hands are here, the knowledgeable who have not necessarily come to buy, but to discuss other people's purchases and to enjoy their day, the hopeful vendors, and the eager buyers of ponies, not only for themselves but for their children or for customers, and they will not want to miss the pony of their choice. The ponies are sold in a definite order. First those which are eligible for New Forest registration, then those that are already registered, next are crosses and other breeds, and lastly broken-in ponies and horses. They are all here, colts and geldings, mares and foals, fillies and mares, broken horses and ponies. And to complete the scene, the spectators, the locals, the lovers of horseflesh from anywhere and everywhere, casual passers-by and regulars who never miss a sale, the extras in the cast who fill in the gaps, add colour and interest. Bargains are to be had by the keen-eyed and knowledgeable, or by those who are just plain lucky. Maybe a knowing glance is exchanged, maybe a deal is quietly struck, a hope is fulfilled. The sale goes on steadily until the last of the ponies has been sold, the last buyer is satisfied. The disappointed will come again next time, because there will be a next time as long as the forest remains. This forest has known kings and commoners, the famous and the not so famous, the important and the unimportant. William Rufus was new here in the 11th century. We are new here today, but the New Forest is older than us all.